What's up with it? It's the People's Coach, yours truly, Cornelius Cole with the Die Hard Fan Show. Shout out to Sports for America for putting me on. Don't forget to check out my other show, Stimulate Your Mind, which is currently running reruns right now. Want to apologize for that. I'll be back on real soon. Anyway, shout out to Dallas, Texas, where I am right now. But we're going to go ahead and get it jumping. First off, special shout out to the Las Vegas Golden Knights winning the Stanley Cup 6 years. I want to talk about memorable moments with that. Bringing me to think in 6 years, an expansion franchise winning, I can't remember a franchise winning so quick in my lifetime. There may have been, but the franchises that I remember coming up and coming close, the Orlando Magic and basketball, I remember they came in like 88, 89, 90 season, somewhere off in there, 1990 or something. And they win the championship with Shaquille O'Neal in like the 94, 95 season, something like that. So I saw that happen to Jacksonville Jaguars in football. I think they first or second season they were in the AFC Championship game. Coming close, but I just never really seen the team go all the way like the Golden Knights. In 6 years, they've won a Stanley Cup. So hats off to them. Um, Great work on the ice. Hockey's one of those sports that is always for some eyes. The untrained eye is hard to follow, but when you really watch it and you see the skill that it takes to be on that ice, to stay upright for one thing, and then to be taking checks and getting hit, those guys are some of the most physical guys and some of the most athletic people. Even though you don't really associate hockey with athletics, um, and they rugged, man. Come on, they tough, man. So again, hats off to the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'm also, hats off to hats off to Florida, excuse me, the Florida Panthers for, challenging for the crown. They just fell short, which is where I want to start with the Miami Heat. I want to go to the Miami Heat real quick, but first I want to give a shout out to Fancy Lips Cosmetics. If you like organic cosmetics, y'all check it out at fancylips.com. So, um, Jimmy Butler, man, fall short again. That's twice in what 4 or 5 years the Heat came up short. Remember they came up short in the bubble, then they come up short. But the Nuggets, okay, the Nuggets was just a better team, but the Heat shot pitiful. I mean, and even though that has pretty much been them, and now you saw why. But why? My thing is, why you wait till you get to the championship to prove why you're an 8 seed? You could have did that a long time ago. But it's just the level of competition changed. I mean, Game 5, Denver didn't even play all that well, but they were still able to play well enough to beat the Miami Heat. That's how bad the Miami Heat shot the basketball. If the shots don't fall, we can talk analytics, we can talk plays ran, we can talk all that. But if the shots don't go in, people, it's going to be hard to win any game if you can't make buckets. But I was a little upset with the whole Jimmy Butler thing because he shot horrible throughout that whole series, all 5 games, in my opinion. There wasn't one game where I thought that he was setting it on fire or whatever. So, probably a week or so from now, a few days from now, it's going to come out the severity of his injury. I think it's an ankle or something like that. But we're going to hear the severity of his injury. And we'll see what that is. But no knock against the Heat, but it's like I was saying last week, which let me begin again by apologizing for last week, where the show was cut short due to the rain and stuff. I lost power or whatever and wasn't able to get back on. So I apologize for that, but I'm back. And look, check it out. The Heat, Jimmy Butler, but the Heat culture thing, that's where I was going to pick up. The Heat culture, all that talk about Heat culture and all this stuff. I told y'all it ain't producing wins. The Heat culture is good. Man, Pat Riley, I think he one of the best ever. Eric Spoelstra, I think he one of the best coaches in the game right now. I think he's actually up there with Popovich, even though, we're going to see where Popovich at pretty soon, even though Popovich has declined in my mind just a little bit because after Tim Duncan and them, he ain't been able to put nothing out there 20-something years. But 20-something years in the playoffs, you can't say nothing else about Popovich, man. He did what he made it do what it do for a long period of time. And at some point, you expect a decline, even in coaching. I mean, it happens to them all. Remember the big tuna in football, Bill Parcells? He was a great coach for a long time, but then he had bumpy roads here and there, and then he transitioned to the box upstairs, man. But Anyway, back to what I was saying. This whole talk about the Heat culture, and I went in on Udonis Haslam and all that, and it really wasn't going in on Udonis Haslam. It was just one of those things where it was like, man, um, this Heat culture thing, and about Wade and it being Wade and Haslam, when we know it was more Wade than anything. So anyway, um, the Miami Heat, it has nothing to do with where you were drafted or undrafted players and all that, and the more talented team, Denver. Denver was just the better team because they found a way to win, and that's what better teams do. The best teams find ways to win when they're not performing up to their normal levels or whatever, or they rise to another level. The best teams typically do that, and that's always been the case. But for future lookout, before I get to the Nuggets with all the salute and celebrating other Nuggets, where does the Heat go from here? What do the Heat need to get them over the hump? I've got, I polled that question, uh, and I got a few mixed reviews. One of the, some of the biggest things that I got was more about they need size, and some people were saying they need more scoring. For me, I think. They can do without size more so. I agree with the scoring. I think they need more scorers, and rumors of maybe Dame Lil potentially being traded there. I mean, I think that'd be a good move for them because Dame Lil's shot is very rarely off, and maybe that'll help them in big situations. I think the tandem of, I think the duo of um, Lil and Butler, I think that'll be a good duo. Even though Dame, you know, and man to man, will probably be a little bit of a liability on defense. But at the same time, within the team defense in the scheme of things, I think that Jimmy Butler and Bam, I think you keep them together. I think you keep a good mixture of what you got, and you just bring in a piece like. And I heard the rumors of maybe Bradley Bill, but very little, Bradley Bill looking for a thing. We're gonna get into the NBA trades in a minute, but let's get back. Um, with a quick shout out to Fam Brand. Check them out at fam.brand for the latest gear, in fashion. So let me go ahead and let me say hats off to the Denver Nuggets for winning the first ever championship, in team history. Um, I appreciate, and they did it in five. Let's see, they got to the Western Conference Finals and they swept, and then they get to the finals and it's a gentleman's sweep. I got to give them their credit. I got to say that. I think the most, and hats off to the Joker for getting the MVP. Now let's go back to a previous show that I had where I was saying, man, stop giving all these people props. But Joker, you did it. In my reference to the Joker, where they were saying, oh, maybe three-time MVP, he might be the best ever. Well, Joker, you did it. You won a championship, and now all the talk amongst the masses is where does the Joker rank? Is he the best big man to ever play the game all time? And it's like, whoa, all time. The man not career not over yet. Let's see where his career ends up before we go to, is he the best big man all time? He the best big man right now, probably the more dominant player. I mean, for me, I still like Giannis. I think Giannis could be more dominant, and I would love to see them head to head in the finals. Maybe we'll get to see that next year or the year, years down the road. Maybe we get to see them, but for right now, it's the Joker's moment. Don't want to take nothing away from the Joker, man. He played his tail off on both ends of the court. For me, what helped Denver win was on the defensive end. They seemed to step it up on the defensive end, and the Heat shot terrible. Even their open shots, hands in the face, no matter what, they shot terrible. And it wasn't just shooting from the three. Now, Denver didn't shoot well either from the three, and they missed a lot of key shots and stuff like that, but they were still able to get over the hump because, like I said, good teams championship teams seem to rise to a certain level when they need to, and they figure out ways to gut out wins and pull out wins. So the final score was more like a 90 score, but it was all good. And um, but Denver, it leads me to think, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon. I told y'all Aaron Gordon would play. Gordon would play a big role, and it showed up in certain games. It didn't show up in Game 5, but it showed up in certain games when they needed them throughout the playoffs. Same thing go for the rest of the squad. You got to have a squad, and everybody got to understand their roles and play their roles. So hats off to the coaching staff. You got to give it to Michael Malone for hanging in there. Remember, he bashed his team about not playing up the snuff, and then they came and they played up the snuff. They took it seriously, and they put their foot on the gas and they handled their business. Now, Can Denver repeat? I think they can repeat. I think they can just. They're not a team that has to reload to repeat. I think they can keep what they have. Now, this is what the discussion isn't about, but probably should be about. We always talk about homegrown players and drafted players and doing this, but and they got free agents. I mean, they brought in. I mean, so that this proves the theory that all those different things about the Warriors, the homegrown, that's better, to build whatever. I don't know if the Denver Nuggets are building a dynasty, but I know that they're off to a pretty good start by having these guys play together. And let's not act like it's Nikola Jokic's first year or Jamal Murray, with the injuries and stuff, or Aaron Gordon, or anybody that's on that squad. Let's not act like it's their first year in operation. Like, these guys have been playing for a minute, so they work towards something, And I always say that that's the best thing right there is when you work towards it. I mean, they worked harder. They worked harder than the other team. They were the better team. No knock against Miami, but Miami, like I said, Miami waited until they got to the finals to go back to, to revert to being a number 8 seed. I mean, it was like, hey. But hats off to the Joker for doing what he does, man. I don't think we'll ever see anything quite like that as far as being a triple threat like that, the triple doubles, man. But he didn't have all the assists in a couple of games that he would normally have, that he normally had throughout the postseason. But he was still the most valuable player, and Jamal Murray was a close second in my mind in certain games. I know in the last game he only had like 13 or 14 points, but he balled out. Now what I look at is repeat. Can they repeat? I think the Denver Nuggets have a strong chance of repeating if everybody stays healthy and everybody comes back committed to that same level of play. Then yeah, I think they can, because the West is transitioning, and I know that people gonna talk about, oh, what about Kevin Durant and all this? I heard someone else say today, like, we can't count Kevin Durant in. But here's my thing: until Kevin Durant can prove that he can help a team win that's not named Golden State, in a championship, like, he didn't get it done in OKC for whatever reasons, him and Russell Westbrook. Even though I thought Westbrook blew it more so than Kevin Durant, but I've already stated my claim on that. I don't think the Phoenix Suns are going to go anywhere, no matter what they do with Chris Paul, no matter what they bring in and all that stuff. So let's get to it. With the season being over, now you're talking draft, and then you're talking off season and moves and stuff like that, and a lot of rumors coming up. Like, they saying the Pelicans want to move Zion, or thinking about trading Zion to get in the draft to pick up Scoot Henderson. You want a point guard? I mean, I get it. Zion ain't been giving you what you want because he's not been healthy enough, and he ain't been on the court enough to produce the way that you need him to get you somewhere. But when he has been on the court, he has been effective. But I don't think, a couple of issues for me with Zion is, like everybody else has the same sentiments. We worry about him being in shape. We worry about him coming in. But more so, I think it's up here in the head space. Like, what kind of head, what kind of shape is his head in? Like, does he really want to go after it? Is it a desire to play the game? Or is he cool with what he's doing? But at the same time, I think New Orleans would make a mistake by trading him. And I say that just only it's just my opinion. I'm just a diehard fan. I think they'll make a mistake by trading him, at least give him another year or two to see what he can do. And the reason why I say that is because, but then they don't want to be locked in and committed to paying him a whole bunch of money, but you already paid him. So you might as well just ride that out. I mean, I think that he could be very fruitful for you if he can stay healthy. I mean, but my thing is, you have to step to him and you have to take the gloves off and you have to say, man, look, get in shape, stay in shape. Those different things, man. Why can't we have those things brought up when we talk about these athletes today? It's like nobody really wants to challenge these athletes. It's like Zion gets paid to play basketball. So, and a part of playing basketball is being in the best shape possible. It's like, what's so hard about that? How can you not come in shape? We've seen it with other players, other big name players. There was a knock on Carmelo Anthony for a few years in his career, and I like Carmelo Anthony, but I was also like, man, why you can't stay in shape? What are you going through that you can't stay in shape to perform when you're supposed to perform? It's about the performance. Like, like, get in shape, man. I mean, that's my thing is like, like, you getting paid to play ball. You can't play ball if you're not in shape, if you're not healthy enough to be on the court. So those things have to go hand in hand. I think that it's just a mentality. It should be a switch. And I'm wondering why these top offices, why they put up with it. I mean, basketball. I mean, nobody really wants to say different things because everybody wants to talk about the talents and generational talents and all that. But let's just be real. Much talent has come through the NBA Many people have risen. Many people have fell off. The NBA is going to go on. There's going to be another player potentially better than Zion at some point out there in the league if they're not already out there. So it's like, hey, it's going to be more players. Jordan left the game. LeBron came. I mean, Kobe came. Kobe left the game. LeBron rose, man. The Melos and all that. The KDs, man. It's always going to be players in every freaking era. So it's like, hey, that's where the privilege comes in right there. Is that, hey, you're not exclusive. You're not privy. It's more talent out there. It's just finding the talent. And I feel bad for New Orleans to even have to consider getting rid of the guy. Now let's go to Bradley Beal, talking about, they talking about potential trade for Bradley Beal. Finally up out of the Wizards. Now, Bradley Beal is one of those, I think, that has wasted the bulk of his career. Him and Dame Lil, by the way. I've already said that about Dame Lil, but Bradley Beal playing in Wizards and not being healthy at times. Injuries have hurt him, but at the same time, his reluctancy to leave or so-called loyalty to an organization that's really not worthy of your loyalty. They're not trying to put nothing around you to win. See, for me, it's always going to go back to people's coach. And, maybe that's that coaching angle that is about winning. But you're supposed to be trying to put together an organization to win, not just, put a team out there. I mean, anybody, like that could be done pretty much anywhere. But at the same time, I mean, I get it. It's supposed to be entertaining. You're supposed to bring the people in and show the people what they want, put on a good show and also. But it's also about winning. It's a numbers game and it's about winning. But at the same time, I'm just not understanding Bradley Beal's mindset of why stay with the Wizards so long when you see that evidently they're not even trying to win. I mean, don't you want to win? I mean, not everybody's going to hoist the trophy. Just ask Jimmy Butler. He's missed it twice already. He's been there twice. And not everybody's going to make it to the championship. It's hard to make it to the championship on any level. Like, that's not to say that, you don't have what it takes. But it's just that it's a lot of teams challenging and teams make the right moves. Teams, sometimes it's a guessing game. Sometimes, you can say, oh, it's the GMs. You can say, oh, it's the analytics. You can blame it on a lot of different things. But the fact is, if the players don't go out there to perform, then you don't get it. And the Wizards have been known to have some talent, but not really harvest the talent in the correct way and grow the talent in the correct way and let them spread their wings and produce. It's just one of those things. So I don't know why Bradley Beal has stayed so long. Now, I really want to talk about Dame Lil. Last week I talked about a Chris Paul, before I got cut off, but I don't want to go back to Chris Paul. I want to go with Dame Lil. And Dame Lil is one of those guys, I've said it on the show. I remember if you go back, I had the show where I was like, Dame Lil evidently don't want to win. He's talking about not championships, but he basically said it. And now it's the rumors that he may want to go to the Heat or a potential move to the Miami Heat. And I'm thinking, like I said, I think that's a good move. I think Dame Lil going to Miami Heat would probably be a good move. It'll be the best move. But if not that, here's the thing that I wanted to bring up. People forget that Kyrie Irving is a free agent also, but you don't hear his name being mentioned in none of these circles. I mean, is Kyrie that bad of a teammate, or do people think that he's that bad of a teammate that his name's not being mentioned of going to Miami? His name's not being mentioned of going to any of these key places. Well, we know he ain't going back to Boston. We know that ain't happening. But I'm just saying, in these key places, other than maybe potentially hooking up, I'm even hearing James Harden, maybe Phoenix, but maybe hooking up with Kevin Durant again, maybe hooking up with LeBron again. I mean, that's all you keep hearing about Kyrie Irving, or maybe staying in Dallas. But you'll hear him about, like it's other teams that could probably use his services. I personally think that if the Bucks could get someone like a Kyrie Irving, and and Kyrie would give in to winning. Yeah, I said it. And he would give in into winning as opposed to just being a great superstar of the league. I think him and Giannis could win several championships. It doesn't just have to be because LeBron at the end of his career, and I think that if LeBron gets one more, then then hey, he got 5. But I really don't see that happening. I really see Kyrie going somewhere. I mean, man, why not? Like Kyrie, he ain't no spring chicken neither, but he ain't as old as LeBron. But he still got some. You still got some good tread on your tires, man. Go hook up with Giannis or somebody, man. Go hook up with somebody. Or I thought hooking up with Luka, but then you and Luka do too many of the same different things, and both of y'all need to rock. So, but Giannis can play off the ball. I mean, the Bucks give Giannis the ball a lot. But you could feed Giannis in the post, and you could just throw alley oops all day. I mean, and I think that would be a good move. I hate to say it, but I think that would be a good move for agent Chris Paul. Also, going to somewhere like the Bucks, where you don't have to work as hard. No knock against, man. You put it all out there. You done played. You done went hard. Now it's time. Sit back a little bit, which is what LeBron was trying to do by hooking up with AD. Sometimes this stuff backfires, but I look at it all again. The Denver Nuggets have a good chance to do their thing, and I'm hearing talks about Draymond Green probably not being with the Warriors. Okay, so fine. He ain't gonna be with the Warriors no more. And they say that, oh, I heard certain people saying, oh no, then that's the end of the Warriors dynasty. They can't win without Draymond Green. And I say, like, heck, if you get the right personnel, you bring in the right people, you can win without. Like, for instance, um, a potential talent like Isaiah, and you could probably, if he's healthy, but like I said, the health, it always goes back to the health. But it's like certain players out there. I mean, a DeAndre Ayton, even. I think if you brought Ayton in under the tutelage of Kerr and him learning the Warriors system, I think that he'll be a good guy to fit in with the Warriors situation, and I think that they can continue to win. I know knock against Draymond. I mean, everybody know Draymond, a 4-time champion. Draymond bring, he's supposed to be the heartbeat of the Warriors and all this other stuff. But I think at the same time that I think that the kind of game that Steph and Clay have, that they could pretty much mess with anybody. Now, the one thing that they would miss if they had a guy like an Aiden or something, they would miss the setups by Draymond Green. I mean, the guy's a good passer from the 4 position, 5 position, whatever position they have him playing. The multi-position player, the multi-positional player, the shiftiness. Of his stature to be able to do, but the passing of the rock. But then you can find other ways to get the ball in the hands of your shooters. I mean, that's all you have to do. And I think Aiden would, like I said, Aiden would be a pretty good fit there. You never know. They might even look to the draft again to try to find someone. But I think the Warriors would be fine. And because it's a shift of the mentalities there. Remember when the Warriors were bottom of the league? They were not really good, but then they made some moves, they made some key management decisions. General manager, which is gone now, but they made some key decisions, and they brought in coaches that really wanted to get it, and they turned that thing around. They brought in players that not like they didn't have players in the past. Remember the Jay Richardsons, the Chris Mullins. They had Chris Webber for a little while. They were trying, but they really wasn't trying. Like they, as far as an organizational purposes, they just had names on jerseys. They didn't really have a setup of winning ways, in my opinion. But now you start to see that, and are the Nuggets on that next wave to have those winning ways? Because the Nuggets have been building up to this. You got to remember they were in the Western Conference Finals in the bubble. They had some struggles here and there. I knocked them for their struggles earlier on this season, and they got over the hump. But winning one, does that put them in positions to dominate the West for a little while? Are they going to be the next San Antonio Spurs, the next LA Laker, the next Golden State Warrior? Are they going to fall in the footsteps? Because that's the way it seems to roll in the Western Conference right now. Sometimes, teams, the same team pops up and over. Like in the East, with LeBron leaving the East has been wide open. It's really been no repeats to Miami. Miami's been there twice, but you've had the openings, but you've seen the Celtics, the Bucks, you've seen the Celtics, the Bucks, you've seen the Toronto Raptors, you've seen different teams in the years that LeBron has been gone from the East make it to the finals. So what's next? What's to come of the Eastern Conference even now, so that I think is more wide open? Are you going to see the Bucks again? Are you going to see Miami again? And like I said, Miami, they just need to make some moves to get some more scoring. Somebody, a consistent scorer would be the difference. Would be the difference for them. I think somebody that could consistently draw fouls or anything, put the ball in the hole. I think that's what they need the most. And also, before I get off the NBA, I just want to say that I was talking coaches last week, and I was looking at Adrian Griffin there for the Bucks. Who knows how that move is going to pan out? But I think that for me, what the Bucks need is to stop thinking that they got They were blessed and fortunate that they got to play the Phoenix Suns in the finals when they played. I'm not going to knock them and say that they don't deserve that. They weren't going to win the championship, because Giannis, my dude, I rock with Giannis. I think Giannis is I think Giannis is one of the most tremendous players in the league. I think he like the best player. You could dispute that with what the Joker just did, but at the same time, I think Giannis is up there, man. If not number one, number two, or three, somewhere in the top three. But what I mean is, like, you had Drew Holiday, who played his tail off, and so and then you have Chris Middleton and all that. But I think that there's more talent out there that the Bucks could probably shop around and find players that have that drive. I mean, I'm not going to bash Chris Middleton, but I'm going to say, man, one championship with all that talent of Giannis. If Giannis only wins one championship, I think that would be shocking. One, I think that'll be disappointing. Two, and I don't think. That would sit well, and it would definitely hurt. It would definitely hurt in terms of like you could be a Hall of Fame performer, but it'll definitely hurt on where you ranks amongst the all-time greats. Which we know the players don't really care about none of this stuff. We know this stuff only matters to the media and the fans. Let's just keep it real. Players are not the players are not laying awake at night saying, "Oh, I want to be the best player on the planet." Like Jimmy Butler said his name, he wanted to have his name mentioned. I mean, but I don't blame him for that. How can you blame him for that? But at the same time, I'm just saying, like the players, they're not gonna lose sleep because I, the diehard fan, the people's coach, don't have them guys in my top five, or don't think highly of them, or don't think they're one of the all-time greats. But I commend all those guys for going out to prove it time after time. And again, another shout out to the Denver Nuggets for doing their thing, man. I think KCP, he got his second championship. You got to say, whoa, that's tight. Remember he was on the team with the Lakers and he got one. I think that's pretty cool. Hats off to Reggie Jackson. He got a championship. Remember the midseason trade he came over for? I mean, he didn't get to play a lot of playing time, in the playoffs and stuff, in the postseason, stuff like that. But Reggie Jackson still got a ring. He out there like, he can wave at Paul George and them and be like, hey, Teron Lue and them, the trade, he got a ring. I mean, hey, no matter how you got it, DeAndre Jordan got a ring now, yo. You got to look at that and you got to say, man, that's impressive. DeAndre Jordan got a ring. All the lobs. Remember, it was Lob City and stuff like that. He played in Brooklyn and all that stuff. But he bounced around later on in his career. But hey, yo, he got a ring. I mean, that's impressive. So hats off to all those guys. The Bruce Browns. The Chris Bronze, whatever. All them guys, man, they contributed. They did what they had to do to win, and they were victorious. And like I said, another salute to the coach for holding his team together and going beyond the X's and O's and being able to communicate with his team, even through the media, saying, hey, this is what we need to do. Y'all playing too soft. Y'all taking it too light. This is the finals. We got to step it up. And they did exactly that. They didn't give the Miami Heat a chance, but Miami had chances. Don't get me wrong. Miami had the same chance that the Nuggets had. The only difference is that the Nuggets hit a few more shots, made a few more plays, tightened up a D here and there, and did more what they had to do. Again, it's always going to be about putting the ball in the hole. That's why sometimes I think that people overanalyze the games, and I think sometimes even players overthink the game sometimes when you watch the game. But that's just me sitting back watching at home from the TV, or sitting in the stands watching. Sometimes it looks like it's some overthinking, and like the overanalyzing sometimes really drives me crazy. As a diehard fan and stuff, it's like, hey, look, you still got to go out there and perform. I don't care how many X's, O's. I don't care what percentages. This shot's better. That shot's better. This is better. That's better. Or don't do this and don't do, the do's and don'ts when it comes to all of the analytics and stuff like that. It doesn't matter about all those percentages and stuff. Guess what? Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to lose. And guess what? Somebody got to take the shots. Somebody got to make the shots. It's going to be shots missed. It's going to be plays. It's going to be mistakes made. It's going to be how you bounce back from turnovers. It's going to be all that stuff that the players have to worry about. It's not the game ain't ran by machines, man. It's like, yo, the players got to go out there and perform. The humans got to go out there and get it, baby. So no matter how many numbers you crunch, no matter what you come up with, just remember that the fans are in the stands to see the players perform. And yo, though the analytics are great and it's good for betting purposes and it's good for even maybe team setup or what particular style you're gonna play and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is cool, but guess what? Basketball is always gonna come down to putting the ball in the hole, man. You gotta score. 3-pointers, free throw line, mid-range, dunks, layups. You still have to score the basketball. And that's what I look at. That's the most important thing. Now, man, now I want to get into the NFL a little bit because I didn't get to talk the NFL. Excuse me, I didn't get to talk the NFL last week, so I want to get into that. I was going to talk about I was going through teams and all the things that they have. So I was talking about the NFC and AFC South divisions and stuff like that. That was going to be my topic last week. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with it this week as far as my outlook on different things. And we're going to start with the NFC South. And I'm going to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've mentioned it before, but it's always good to reiterate certain things. I mean, I saw their quarterback list. They got Warford, Trask, and Baker Mayfield. Um, um, we saw what Mayfield has. Um, we know what we saw that he could be an all right quarterback, but none of those names really jump out at me. Warford, we saw him play a couple of games or come in and fill in out there in LA with the Rams, but Trask, the books out. All I'm saying is, I started with the Bucks because I think they're gonna be, I think they're gonna be horrible. And I say that from a standpoint of I can't believe like if Bruce Arians was the coach of that team, would these be the three quarterbacks? At the time Brady retires, would these be the three quarterbacks that we looking at? Mayfield, Trask, Walford. Would that be who you looking at? I mean, I think Todd Bowles he getting a raw end of this deal. Like some ain't, he got an aging defense that didn't want to perform last season. Let's just face it, the defense didn't go all out. They were missing, they made so many miscues and so many mistakes, and they were so lazy and lackadaisical that it was kind of horrible to watch a team that had performed so great. Remember what they did? That same defense put in work and did damage in the Super Bowl. But I think that they was just living off. Then they was just living off the hype. And the last couple of seasons, they were living off the hype. And some pieces had changed, but not many. But what I'm saying is man, whatever Tampa Bay is doing for a team that challenged for the crown just 2-3 years ago, and now look at them, man. It's like it looks pitiful, man. I could be wrong because I've been wrong before, and I'm a person that don't mind being wrong because these are just my opinions. But at the same time, you're like, hey, come on, man, Tampa Bay, what y'all doing? What y'all doing? Y'all got talent at wide receiver, so y'all thinking y'all can just throw any quarterback out there? I mean, like I said, I think Bowles getting a raw end of the deal, and now I want to move to the Carolina Panthers. I mean, because this is how I have it stacked up. I think Carolina, even though they got a better coach now, um, I think they still going to end up coming in right there at third in the division or whatever. I think they're going to come in right underneath. I mean, right above the Tampa Bay Bucks. And I say that just from a standpoint, you come in with a rookie quarterback. I mean, if he comes out and he's phenomenal his first year, which is very rare with quarterbacks, it's a lot to learn, the speed of the game and those types of things. Learning the plays, witnessing the speed of the game, the defense is coming at the defensive coverages and how they mix things up and how fast. It's just how fast in general the defenses are, and so I look at the adjustment for Bryce Young, the things that he has to do to get himself right in the mix. I think that that's going to be a challenge, for Carolina. But I was looking at the receiving core, and I was like, okay, so they got DJ Chark, and they picked up Thielen, so they got some pieces to work with. They get this guy some targets. So I think but I still got them third on the list. I know that they got a pretty good defense. Their defense was strong, but most of the defenses in the AFC South were strong. The Bucks defense was still pretty strong, even though they had a lot of mistakes, and they made a lot of mistakes in meaningful games. But then if you look at Carolina, they got a pretty good defense, and remember, they almost stole a division from the Bucks last season. But and that's what I'm saying. The Bucks are going to go from division winners to the bottom. Then I got the Carolina Panthers, and then I want to go to the Atlanta Falcons. Um, I'm taking the Falcons to come in second in that division, and the reason why is because of the quarterback play. They still got a young quarterback. We're going to see what they do with them in developing quarterbacks. A lot of times, it's about how you develop your quarterback. So those things are going to be key. We're going to have to look at that and see what they can do. But I already said that I like the receiving core there. I like the Pitts. I like the Drake London. I like some of the pieces that they have. For me, Atlanta is going to be about putting points up so much. They got an all right defense. They probably got the worst defense in, last year. Maybe they had the worst defense in the NFC South. But I think this year they'll probably still have, but it's still going to be better than a lot of the teams out there in the league. And I think you just got to do enough for a team like the Falcons. You just got to do enough to win some meaningful games, and I think they're going to be able to pull it off. So I look at that as being an advantage. But I'm going with the Saints winning the division, and uh, it's not because I think Derek Carr. I mean, by default, Derek Carr is the best quarterback in that division right now because the word's out on Young. Maybe Young is going to prove to be the best. I mean, at some point, but I'm just saying right now. Just going off what we got to go off of, you got Derek Carr, and I think that'll be enough for New Orleans to win that division. Plus, Michael Thomas is coming back. When you got a target like that, I mean, Derek Carr had the best receiver in the game last year, and we saw what happened. But I still think that it's going to be enough to win that weak division. That division is a little lacking, and plus, I think the Saints have the best defense in that division. So I think that that's going to make a difference. I'm not sold on their coach, but they got some other key positions. They got another wide receiver on the other side, Olave. So I think that having a few targets is going to really help Derek Carr's development there. So those are my picks for the NFC South. Uh, Going to the AFC South, but first a shout out to Nerd Focus Energy Drink. Get your brain right and your game tight with Nerd Focus. Check it out, y'all. That's Nerd Focus Energy Drink. Also, another shout out to Fancy Lips Cosmetics. If you like organic cosmetics, check that out at fancylips.com. And another shout out to Fam Brand. Check out fam.brand.com. And also, I got to big up myself, Snook One Productions. You can check me out. I'm coming with new stuff, y'all. I'm in the process of writing another book. Getting ready to release another book here soon. A lot of things are percolating. Looking for publishers. Publishers, where you at? Otherwise, I just keep self-publishing and keep doing my thing. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, back to the show. Now, the AFC South. Let's. I guess I'm going to start at the bottom, and I think that. I think the Texans. Well, let's go. Okay, I don't know if the Texans are going to be at the bottom. D'Amico Ryans, I mean, he might come in and impress, but I'm gonna put the Texans at the bottom right now because they got Stroud in the draft. They not. They got Mechie at receiver. They got Robert Woods. Robert Woods was hurt for a long period of time, so you don't know what he gonna be able to give you. Mechie was hurt for a while. So all this different stuff that's up for grabs for as far as receiver wise. Oh, they got Noah Brown from the Cowboys. We don't know how these guys are gonna perform, but put that talent around Stroud. I think Stroud and Young are both gonna be okay. By the way, but it's just their first seasons, and sometimes like I said, those adjustment periods you got to give them a minute to adjust. I mean, the great Peyton Manning didn't come right in playing the game top notch. He led the league in interceptions. The game was fast. It was a different game. Sometimes when quarterbacks come in, they hold the ball too long, they lead the league in sacks. I mean, a lot of different things could happen, but I think Stroud, he gonna have the potential to win it. And the Texans, I'm sure they lay down the foundations to win in the future. I'm sure they're not banking on really making strides. So I got them at the bottom. And plus, even with D'Amico Ryans coming in, we still got to see all the defensive moves that they make. Just because they got a good pick in the draft doesn't mean that defense, even though, that defense performed pretty good, last season, it kept them in games. So, just some tweaks and stuff. But we're going to have to see what's in store for the Texans. Shout out hometown, H-Town. All right, now let's roll with next. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. So it's pretty much going to be the way the South looked last year in my mind. But I'm going to go with the Colts because we don't know who they're going to start at quarterback. I'm pretty much betting that, they're going to say it's a quarterback battle, but, how these teams do it. They're not really looking at starting Richardson maybe. I'm thinking they're looking at leaning starting Gardner Minshew. And either way, I don't think it's going to yield a whole lot of wins, even though they have a good running game. If they choose to go that route of leaning on running backs, which I'm gonna get into that after this, but they got a solid running game. They got some solid receivers. I think that they got potential, but they struggled with offensive line last season, and they struggled on the defensive end to stop anybody, especially when other teams chose to run the ball. So it's just certain things that they have to do to change the outlook. They lost and on the back end in the secondary. They lost Stephon Gilmore, you know, and they lost some other pieces. But I'm looking at and they picked, but they got something to start with. It's gonna take them a minute to get into the swing of things. New coach, new players. So I give them that grace period. Almost pretty much same scenario as the Texans. So I wouldn't be surprised if those two flip flop. It's just gonna be depends on which coach I guess gets the most out of his players. So all right, um, whew, man. Now we're looking at. Um, I'm going to go ahead and say Tennessee is going to come in second again in that division, and this is why. I mean, I know Tennessee took Will Levis, that quarterback, but they waited so long to take a quarterback in the draft that I'm still thinking that they leaning towards Tannehill, and we see what that's going to get you. And trying to run Derrick Henry a bunch of times. Y'all, it ain't won yet. I don't think it's going to win. And they gave up great receivers and they didn't get anything in return. So I'm looking at Tennessee. I like Vrabel. I like Vrabel's mind state. I like for him sticking to his guns. I like the fact that he made Tennessee relevant when it looked like they were about to slide off and you weren't going to hear from them. I like the fact that they compete, at a high level. The defense plays and the defense keeps them in games. But I think Vrabel needs to bring in an offensive mind to help him change things around. Maybe they need some. I mean, and I'm not just talking a coordinator. Maybe an advisor or something. Somebody that knows the game and can help because Tennessee's always come up short because they stick to their guns too much. It's like you just want to run the ball, you don't want to throw it. I mean, they're playing preservative is okay, but man, shoot, sometimes you got to air that mug out. Sometimes you got to get on the page. You got to get out there. Not everybody gonna have a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. Not everybody gonna have a Lamar Jackson, man. But you got to work with what you got, and you got to start slinging that ball downfield. And I don't think that they really open to throwing the ball downfield. I know that they still got Malik, what's his name there, but I don't expect him to be a factor at quarterback unless both of those other guys get injured. But I'm looking at when are they going to transition to Will Levis? Like maybe a few losses. You never know. Maybe he wins. And maybe he impresses in training camp, or maybe he impresses before the season. But I'm thinking they leaning towards Tannehill, and that's why they're going to lose again. They haven't won anything with Tannehill yet, so I don't think that they're going to get there with Tannehill. Injuries or not. And that's just man. It is what it is. And now the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, will win that division, the AFC South, and I think is a combination of the coach and the quarterback and all the tools that they're using around. I mean, Doug Peterson, man, he got something working right there. They got receivers, they got stuff working. And they looked pretty good last year. They made the playoffs and stuff like that last season. So I'm looking at them to make a bounce back this season and progress even a little bit further. Like probably make the playoffs again, whether they win a playoff game or not. But what I'm saying is that that division is definitely winnable. And now that Trevor Lawrence has had a taste of winning in the NFL, I'm thinking that he's gonna start to like it and he's starting to make moves. And you could just see the difference, man. And that's what I was talking about with a Tannehill or the different things like Vrabel. If you had the kind of mind of if you had someone that was similar to a Doug Peterson or something, I mean, look at how much better Trevor Lawrence looked last season. Look how much better the team looks when your quarterback can perform and they can get behind the quarterback, because we do a lot of talk and we do a lot of talk about leaders of teams. We do a lot of talk about all this other stuff. Like it's all these factors, but really and truly, we know that the quarterback is the true leader of the team. And if people are not willing to follow the quarterback, then man, you got to get out of there, bro. You got to get you one. You know what I'm saying? You got to get you one that that you can ride with for this. And I think a lot of teams are getting that. And maybe Will Levis is the future for Tennessee, but for the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's impressive what they got going on, man. And I'm liking the upswing. So I'm thinking Jacksonville's going to win that division. Now, with all that said, I don't see any of those teams in the NFC and the AFC South really challenging for the Super Bowl. A lot of things would have to happen. We know that at minimum, two of those teams are going to make the playoffs. The division winners are going to make the playoffs, and I think that's all you're going to get. So my early picks are, before off season and before rosters are finalized, I'm looking at the Saints and I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And those are my picks right now because like I said, these are the things that we have to go out off of, and maybe it'll shift later on when things pick up because throughout the season things switch up, or going or leading into the season things switch up. So those are my picks. And now I want to talk about some of these free agents. And before I get to the free agents, another shout out to Nerd Focus Energy Drink. Get your brain right and your game tight. All right, now I want to jump into um, a little bit of um, these Stephon Diggs story or whatever. I want to talk about real quick as far as him being absent one day or something. Man, look, people make all this noise and all this other stuff, but look, man, look, Stephon Diggs was absent. Everybody can say what they want to say, but because he just now realizing what he should have realized a while ago. You wasn't gonna win a championship in Minnesota. You're not gonna win a championship in Buffalo. Period. And I state that with everything. I'm just a diehard fan. But look, the Buffalo is proven time and time again that they're gonna disappoint at some point. They have to prove me wrong, just like the Denver Nuggets proved me wrong, and they found a way to get it done. Maybe I'm cursing the Buffalo Bills into a victory. You know what I'm saying? Or so, to a Super Bowl victory or something. We hoist that Lombardi or something. But nah, man, look, it doesn't matter. You're not gonna win. Uh, you know, it's going to be some problems here and there. But I think that Stephon Diggs is finally starting to understand that. But man, you still got to go out there and perform. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's my take on the Stephon Diggs thing. Because you're hearing all this stuff. Oh, it's about the playbook and it's about being on the same page and saying, hey, I ain't gonna get the ball enough and all this. Man, look, be a part of a championship movement. I mean, what difference does it make how many times you get the ball if your team's winning? I thought winning cures everything, and they have been a winning team. They just haven't won it all when it counts the most. So, they just haven't won when it counts the most. So, hey, don't you want to win? I mean, hey, participate, get out there. Let's see what happens. Now, moving on from the Diggs, we could talk the Andre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook got cut last week. And Minnesota. I was saying that as far as Minnesota, they just I don't know. Like we know Minnesota relies heavy on Kirk Cousins, so they're gonna ride with that. Cook has been productive. I mean, any team would. But running backs, they come a dime a dozen nowadays, and running backs are just not heralded like they were once before in the sport. The Walter Paytons, the Barry Sanders, the Emmett Smiths, the workhorses of the league, the Eric Dickersons, stuff like that. They were workhorses in their times. Even early on, Frank Gores. I mean, the league has changed so much in the last 20 years that running backs, if you pretty much can't catch, if you can't block and catch, then pretty much, running backs, your touches are limited. They running 2, 3 different running backs at a time. Don't want to put the strain on one. I guess I don't know what it is. You have to ask the coaches why they need so many running backs at one time to throw them. I mean, I get it to throw a mixture of speed, talent, and stuff. Some of them, but then some teams have similar running backs that do similar things, so it doesn't show you, that transitional pace or that transitional switch. So I don't get it. So, but what I'm looking at is Dalvin Cook. Man, he'll find a home. It's just a matter of the right home. I was hearing rumors that he might be my Cowboys. I don't know. We got a pretty good running back. So, I don't know if that'll mesh well with Dallas. But I'm looking at, a team for me. They were talking Miami and stuff like Miami. How many pieces does Miami need? But if they get Dalvin Cook, then they get Dalvin Cook. But, if I was Dalvin Cook, I mean, I know New England got good running backs, but I would look at New England the same way that Hopkins was looking at New England. I would look at New England because I think people are sleeping on New England, which I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna talk those teams soon. But I think I never want to give up on Belichick. I'm never going to give up on Belichick as long as he dons the sidelines because no coach has been more productive than he has. No coach has won more than he's won. So I'm never going to give up on the guy that wins the most. I mean, because, he could be just a couple of players away from another Super Bowl run. He could be, just one player away. You don't know. He could be just one coordinator away from another Super Bowl run. Or one. players getting on the same mentality. He could be just one good speech away from doing it all. That's what I feel about Bill Belichick. And those are big words, but at the same time, I just think that um, Cook, it's a couple of places that could use them, but really and truly, it's like where can you make the most impact and where can you win? I know that that's always a look. I mean, Kansas City, they got decent running backs, but a running back like Dalvin Cook, I don't know if he has what Andy Reid them would use. But Andy Reid them, I've been shocked in the past. And another spot that I would look at is the Washington Commanders, man. It's wide open there. It's like certain places where it's wide open, where you walk in, you the person, and it's all you. And then there was questions about should Saquon Barkley. I saw a question that said should Saquon Barkley sit out, and that answer to that question is no. Saquon Barkley should not sit out. Don't do that, bro. You should not sit out. And I say that from we saw what happened to Le'Veon Bell's career. I mean, why miss a whole season? Why risk potentially miss a whole season? Put your whole career in jeopardy trying to prove a point. I feel like it's a way that you can find a way to win. So I give you that perspective as far as the Giants. They were tough. You guys were in the playoffs. You guys actually won a playoff game. I mean, you could probably build on that. I hope you don't. So for me, as a Cowboy fan, yeah, sit out. Sit out. That's great. Being in our division. But, being realistic and just being a fan of the game, I love it when teams beat the best. You want to see the best play the best. That's the whole point of sports in my mind, is to see the best take on the best and to see the best beat the best. I mean, that's how you get the true champion, right? When you take on the best. Those excuses are, oh, this guy's not here. And, going down the stretch of this show, but I was looking at some potential moves. DeAndre Hopkins, another good spot for me. As far as a Dalvin Cook or something, just hopefully the Eagles not looking at him. Oh, you know what I mean? Because the Eagles, man, they already stacked the deck already, man. So, I said the Commanders, you know, maybe even the Buccaneers right now. I know they picked up, but Leonard Fournette is, you know, we know his situation, just older. I mean, Dalvin Cook. It's some places out there, maybe Carolina even. It's a couple of places. The NFC South. I see some teams down there. The AFC North. Maybe jump on the Ravens bandwagon. I mean, I'm just saying, it's so much potential for different players. It depends on where you want to be. That's why I was looking at DeAndre Hopkins. I was like, hey, man, you ain't gonna try out for the Ravens, but I would like to see Hopkins as a Patriot because I actually think, like I said, you can't sleep on the Patriots, and I think that certain moves will put them over the top. Now, with another shout out to Fancy Lives Cosmetics, I want to go into talking about this last few minutes of the show, the different things on the show, like the Zion always being hurt, and the dedication of players sometimes is what I think about. And I said, and I thought about this. Remember, everybody always talk, goat talk or whatever. So let's do that real quick. As far as what if Michael Jordan didn't have the drive that he had? Remember, he missed nearly his whole second season with an injury, man. I think it was like an ankle injury, foot injury, something, whatever it was. It was like he was out for a long, for most of the season or something like that. Imagine if, like, imagine if it was in today's time, then he probably missing 2 seasons or whatever, but it's like the drive, but to have that drive. And I think that when you compare eras, sometimes you have to keep those things in consideration that, like things are supposed to get easier as, you're supposed to make it easier for the generations before, after you or whatever. Those before you make it easier for you. The predecessors are supposed to make it easier for the successors, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, I mean, like I look at some of the most monumental moments, early 2000s, when the Red Sox won. Kurt Schilling playing with the bloody sock. If he doesn't push and play like that, but like it's a different time, it's a different era. And what I'm saying is not to compare eras, but I'm just saying that if we have got some of those monumental moments, and some of that greatness that we got. If players, if the league was today the way it was, I mean, if the league was back then, if the league today was back then in that era, I don't think that we would have some of those moments because the money was less and guys had to push themselves to prove themselves, and social media wasn't a thing. Brands weren't as huge. Some people had a few brands, but branding and all that stuff wasn't huge, and people following your lifestyle all the time wasn't that big of a thing. I mean, I understand the modern athlete has way more pressure than the athletes back in the days, as far as being in the public eye, as far as publicity and things like that. But I'm also looking at it as far as when we say that players are soft nowadays. I try to stay away from all that stuff, but sometimes it just makes you think. Like I think it's just the desire and the willingness to make the sacrifice. And I say that to say that guys like Zion, man, you had a world at your feet, young fella, but then you don't want to make the sacrifices that it takes to be successful, because you feel like you already made it, which you already made it. So if you don't work out, if you don't do a thing, at least you got the money that you already got, right? And if you never make another dime, at least you was the number one draft pick. I mean, I start to see things through a different lens as I get older and as I get into this sports world and I study and I pay attention and I listen to all these different interviews and all this stuff. And and I'm constantly working on this craft because I want to be one of the best as far as in this podcasting world. I know it's going to take some work. My production needs to be better. I see all the things that I need to do, and I'm constantly challenging myself. And I'm just not a wizard with the digital platforms yet. I'm working on different things so that I can bring you visuals, that I can show you different pictures, to make the show better. And and my whole goal is to make it better, like I said, and be one of the best podcasters and turn this into a real thing, so I can turn it over to somebody else and let them run it, and I'll be behind the scenes as far as Nook One Productions. So I'm coming with it, y'all. So but it's always constant work, and there's always something that you can put into it, and it takes some sacrifices to stay up on the game the way that I have to stay up on the game and pay attention to different things. So I know how it is. Not necessarily. I mean, athletes, you put yourself through the rigorous training. Those that make the sacrifices come out on top. Like when I saw the Lakers get swept, I thought about one of the most famous Lakers, Kobe Bryant, and I thought to myself that if that was Kobe getting swept right there, would he be going to the showers or to the interview room, or would he be going straight to the gym? Would he be waiting for everybody to leave so he can get some buckets up, or what was the case? What would the case be? Or would he do the interview and then wait until the gym cleared out and then get some buckets up? I mean, the stories that you heard about, Kobe making those sacrifices and going through. And it's not just him; it's been a lot of players. But what I look at is, um, will players ever have that same drive again? I don't know if players have that demand on them to have that drive anymore. I don't know if players really take it as a prideful thing to have that kind of drive, or to have or show that kind of initiative, or to even want to be one of the greatest. You hear very few saying that they want to be great. You hear very few saying that they want, that they want to dominate the league. Remember when Shaq was in the league? He was like, "Man, I want to dominate. I'm the most dominant." You know what I'm saying? You know, Jordan wanted to be the best. Jordan was like, "I'm the best." Like they say he didn't say it, but he thought it. He went out to show it that, hey, I'm better than them. I want to beat them. I want to school them. That's what the fist pumps for. Tiger Woods in golf, he wanted to be the best. Rory want to be the best. Phil Mickelson, left hand, want to be the best. I mean, that's what I thought. That's what it was about. Sometimes every player's not going to be the best, but if you do your best, you never know where you're going to end up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so many different things. And with the last few minutes of the show, I had talked about the retirement of I heard Udonis Haslam retiring. That's cool. Happy retirement. But I wanted to talk about the retirement of Melo a little bit more, as far as where does Melo rank in my mind, as far as Hall of Fame. Of course, he's a Hall of Fame player. Like he's like the ninth all-time scorer in the league history. But I think that he's going to go down as one of the best to never win a championship. As the best to never win. It's quite a few more names on that list. Which I'm gonna compile that list at some point, and I give you my top 10 of those players that I think that NBA players that could have won the championship. And I'm going to do the same thing for the NFL. The best players to never win in the NFL. In my mind, and right off the rip, I can already tell you Barry Sanders is going to be at the top of that list. you know, it's just certain um, players that I feel that had a chance. Baseball, I'm going to do the same thing. My top 10 baseball players to never win a championship. I just want to look at things a little bit differently. We always heralded the champions and stuff, but it's still been some greatness out there that didn't exactly achieve the feat of winning championships, and that shouldn't diminish their career. But when we start talking champions, you're just not in a circle. I mean, Charles Barkley he still had a heck of a career, and he's still considered one of the best basketball players ever, one of the best 75 basketball players ever. He just don't have a championship. You just can't mention them with the champions. But it's some players that's champions that you won't even mention with champions. So let that sink in. Y'all have a good one. Thanks to Sports for America for putting me on. It's the Die Hard Fan Sports Show with yours truly, the People's Coach.